Welcome all, Bernie here from EWPRO. Getting straight into the weekly outlook, looking at the DXY on the daily time frame. There's a couple of scenarios here. This could be the A, B, C as I have it here. Or this can be an A, a B, and a C here, and then we get that A, B, C, and then we come and fall over and break the low. So there is those two scenarios here. At this stage, I'm going with this A, B, C here. We do have a higher high here. So if we, like I've been mentioning, if we do get a correction in here, some sort of a correction, well, then we can look for a buy. But we need that full correction first. On the H4, we have an impulse down in here. We got an A. We can look at this as a B, and then we get a C up, a running or expanding flat in here before we get another one down. So at this stage, I'd be looking for this, a lower low here. And then I'll be looking for a C up. And if you're lucky, this gives you, 5 up, like that first scenario, and this is the wave C on the daily. And if you're wrong, well, you just get a C up here and get a few pips, and then you could look for a sell for at least an A, B, C here. So there is no buy set up on it at this stage. If I can get this in here, between this low and this low, we do have bullish divergence there. But we didn't get a nice break above this top to buy. So we're still looking for, ideally we get a lower low here, and then we can go down onto the lower time frames and start to look for a buy for that C up. So I'll put this arrow here. We were looking for upside here, but I'll put that arrow over here. We're looking for that flat, for that C up. As for the sell, you could look for a sell, but we do have that bullish divergence already, so it does make it quite dangerous. Well, it's not ideal. AU on the daily, we got that, we're getting that wave 3 up. And I'm looking for that wave 4. Waiting for that wave 4 here. We are getting bearish divergence in here. Looking at this as a internal in this wave 3. So I'm waiting for that wave 4, and then I'll trade that wave 5 up on the daily. We're looking for a buy in here, and it's already gone up and broken this top here. So again, we're getting all this bearish divergence. So you can scalp on the lower time frames going with this trend, but as soon as you start to get that bearish divergence, it starts to get risky. But you can see here, there's 3 up here. We sort of have like 1, 2, 3, get a wave 4 here, and we get a wave 5 up. So you could look for a buy here on the lower time frames. It's not ideal by any means, but I'd be really going down to the lower time frames and looking for some sort of an A, a B, and a C in here, some sort of a flat before you look for a buy. So you really need some sort of a flat on the lower time frames, or a correction on the lower time frames, before you can start to look for that high to go up and break the top. GY, we're looking for that C up. We're looking at this A, B, C here. And we go up and break the top for this larger A, B, C. Again, like AU, we got a high, well, we got a break of this trend line here. Again, before we can buy here, we really need to see a larger correction. like we're looking at this as the impulse. We got a correction here, a high, but then we get this A. We can get an A, B, and a C up in here, and then a C down for this A, B, C, a flat, and then we can look for a buy for like 5, 3, 5. But again, we really need to see a nice correction in here first. Because it gets to, it gets a bit risky. Because this can be just like an A, B, C in here, and then you get an A, B, C, and then it falls over, and you get that flat. So if you are looking to buy this, like if you get, well, on the lower time frames, if you get some sort of a flat in here, you could look for a buy. You know, you get some sort of an A, all this is B, you get a C in here. We need that C down, and then you go down onto the lower time frames and look for a buy after you've got this flat. So I'd really need a C down in here before I'd start to look for a buy. And like I said, it can just be a C up in here and then it falls over on you. So you want to get it to break even. You know, like I just showed. This can be just an A, B, C here, and then you get that larger flat. So I'd be looking out for that. EU on the daily, well, looking for more upside here too. We got this large flat here. This is taking a while to go. But it's very similar to the others. We were looking for that wave 5. It's very slow. Like, I was looking at that 1, 2, 3, 4, and we get a 5th wave up in here. It's very slow, this. You know, so it's very hard to know if this is, well, this doesn't, after this flat here, it's not really impulsive, like we'd like to see, like this. So it becomes quite difficult to trade. But again, well, it's very, I mean, this is risky. But, you could look for a correction in here on the lower time frames and go with the trend and just see how far it goes. At this stage, there is no sell setup, so you can only look for buys. But this is going to be risky. You're probably better off to look at one of the other majors that I've already gone over rather than trade this one. In new, this one's been quite difficult. We got that A, B, C. Didn't quite get up to that 100 fib. Then we had a very deep wave in here, and we had a lower low in here. So again, does this take off, or is this just an A, a B, and a C in here, and then you get another one down for, if I just zoom out a bit. So there's two scenarios here. This can just be an A, B, C, and then we get A, B, C and fall over. Or this just goes from here. We have been looking at this. It hasn't been giving us a nice entry. But, you could look for a buy. It's already broken the top, so we are getting bearish divergence here. But, you could look for a 5th wave up here, like a 1, 2, 3, wave 4, and you get a wave 5 up here. So very similar to the others, you'd be going right down to the lower time frames, looking for a flat. Some sort of an A, a B, and a C. Get some sort of a flat here before you could start to look for a buy on the lower time frames. GY. This can be a flat here too. Overall, I'm looking at this like WXY. I'm waiting for this wave X2, and then we get a Z up before we get that A, B, C down, larger flat, and then, more upside. But on the lower time frames here, it's more, well, if you've been following me for a while, you remember that I've been looking at a WX, Y, an X2, and then we get a Z up. The problem I've been saying is this wave X2 has come into the territory of this X1. So it does make it quite risky to look for a wave 5 up or as wave Z up, as I'm looking at this as all corrective. Even if it does give another one up, I'm looking at it as corrective, and we get an A, a B, and a C, like I showed, before we get more upside. So gotta be very careful here, because as soon as we get 3 up here, I mean, in here, I was just looking for an A, a B, and a C, a flat, and then more upside. But as you can see by the price action, we've really fallen over here. So if we get another higher high here, really got to be careful, because then we can get an A, a B, and a C down. So there's nothing to say that this is going to go here from this spot. It's more bearish, because we're in this, still within this impulse down. So again, like I've said, we already had that A, B, C here. It never went down and broke the low, unfortunately. If it had gone and broken the low, well, then we could look for buys to go and break the top. But because it didn't, there's still that scenario that we get an A, a B, and a C here, and then the larger A, B, C, like I showed. So again, it's quite risky. Yeah. There's a couple of scenarios on it, so we're looking at that A, B. I'm looking for that C down, then an A, B, C, A, B, C, looking for that larger correction on the daily. As you see, we're looking for the sell. Well, this was bullish. We broke the top, that's fine, and then we get this nice impulse down. This one, unlike GY, did give us 3 down here. We did get 3 down. We got 3 down. This one did break the low, that C. So I'd be looking to buy this one rather than GY. But again, it's still rather risky, because similar to GY, this can just come up in here, and this is an A, a B, and a C up, and then we get A, B, C. But because this one does have 3 down here, we can look for a buy. And, that was your first one. You're getting another one now. You just have to see how far they go, get them to break even, and just ride it up. And if you're lucky, it goes and breaks the top. But yeah, you'd want to keep in mind that this can just be an A, a B, and a C up in here, and then we get more downside. That's why you really need to protect your positions in case we do get more downside. But at this stage, I'd be looking at this here. This looks very corrective here. I'd be looking for more upside. There is also on the M15 here a bull hidden. There's a couple of bull hiddens here. So, I'd be very surprised if this top doesn't get broken. So you could look for a buy. And I'd be definitely be getting it to break even once you break that top. Once you break that top, you got to be careful, because then we'll start to be getting bearish divergence as well on the MACD. So, definitely want to be at break even. USD CAD. This hasn't really been playing nicely either. We had the Z down. We were looking for that Z down, and we got it. But then when we come down to the lower time frame, we had a large correction in here after this wave 1. and it was very deep to this wave 1. Then we got the wave 3. I was looking for a wave 4 and a wave 5 up, and like I've been saying for, well, a fair few weeks now, this wave 4 has come into the territory of this wave 2. It hasn't broken the low, and like I've been saying, you can really only sell once that low's been broken. Or else, you get this ball hidden here, and this just comes up and breaks the top, and we do get that wave 5. The time factor here is pretty much spot on, right? We're looking at this arrow here, similar size to this wave 2, this wave 4, and we're pretty well spot on with the time factor. So this can really take off here and give us that wave 5 up. It has been quite difficult to get in. I mean, there's been opportunities to get in, but the way I trade and way I teach to trade, it hasn't really given us a nice trade system set up to get into the trade, a high probability trade. I mean, there's been trades you could get in, but they're not what I call a high probability trade. Looks like we've, no, it doesn't. I'll just check to see if we got a high here. Doesn't look like we've got a high here. There may be a double top here. So we do need to be careful. If anything, I'd be looking at, we get a 1, 2, 3, wait for a wave 4, and then trade a wave 5 up. So yeah, ideally, we get a ball hidden in here in the wave 4, and then we can trade that wave 5 up. That's the only way I'd really buy this, because once you start to go down to the lower time frames, you can see how choppy this is. I mean, this still does look very much bullish. You could scalp this, and I dare say on the lower time frame, there's a ball hidden here. And yeah, just like I said, there is a ball hidden on the M5. So it'd be, you could buy it just to break the top and see how far it goes. So there is no sells on it. It's still very much bullish. But yeah, you'd want to be looking at some sort of a possible flat here too. An A, a B, you just get a C up here. And then you get an A, B, C before it goes and breaks the top. So yeah, there's a couple of scenarios there for you. But it's very much bullish still, in my opinion. There is no sell set up on it. So yeah. The Swissy, we completed this ABC, this like A, B, C on the weekly. And we're looking at this. We did get a high here. The problem was this was very choppy. This was extremely choppy. It didn't look motive. Nothing about this looks motive. Excuse me. Like this here, it was very choppy. Very choppy. So nothing in there looks motive to me. So I wouldn't be surprised if this low does get broken, and ideally it does get broken. Because as soon as this gets broken, well, then I can start to load up on buys longer term, because on the weekly, we're getting that C down, like that C may be over here. But yeah, we've already broken the low here. So, and getting that bullish divergence on the H4. So again, you pretty much missed the sell. And there was a sell on it, in here. You get in, but yeah, or get in on the lower time frames. But yeah, so it's already gone, and it's sort of an A, B, C here as well, and it's gone and broken the low there too. We're getting all that bullish divergence, so there's really no, well, very difficult to sell, very risky to sell, and there is no buys on it. So I'd be leaving it alone at this stage, unless you're just scalping on the lower time frames. EG's become very tricky. We got the 5 up that leading diagonal. I'm looking at that as the leading diagonal, and then an A, a B, a C, that flat. It started to go, and it didn't go up and break the top, unfortunately. Now we're stuck in here. So something's wrong. Something's going on in here. You know, like I said, we had that nice impulse up. I was looking for this flat in here, but that C wave was very deep to this A wave. So again, we got the C up, the A, B, C, and it bounced clean off that 100 fib. So, that C up did play out, and we did, we were looking to get on that. And it bounced clean off the first target, that 100 fib, like I said. But now, this looks very choppy here too. That looks very bearish still. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get another one down here. But then this whole scenario here looks very corrective, because then we'll have 3 down, possibly breaking that low. And then, you get an A, a B, and a C flat before you get more downside. So at this stage, I would be leaving it alone, especially with this looking so bearish here. You could look for the sell. It's just a scalp, though. If you're looking for the sell here, it's just a scalp. You definitely want to be at break even at the break of this low, because then we'll start to get, bullish divergence in here. So, yeah, at this stage, I'd be leaving it alone. There's really not much solid on it. WTI, we got the nice impulse up. We're looking on the lower time frame here. Unfortunately, we were looking at this A, B, C here. The problem with that was, we did get a C down in here, but the problem was it didn't go up and break this wave A, the ending point of that wave A. I would have really liked to see this C wave break the ending point of the wave A, and then we could definitely look for more upside, without being a controversial correction in here. I mean, this is still very much bullish here, until that low there gets broken. So, I mean, I'd be leaving this alone too now. We could just get one up in here, and then another one down, because you sort of get a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th wave down. So, if you're going to look to buy this, you really got to be at break even at the break of that top, or else you could get in a lot of trouble, because this could just fall over from here and give you that 5th wave down. So again, you'd really need to go right down to the lower time frames here, look for a buy, and then get it to break even, and then you may get a sell on it. And then, I mean, even the sell is just a scalp for a wave 5, and then more than likely we'll get more upside. But yeah, that's yeah. Gold, there's a couple of scenarios here like I've gone over. Really like to see this low broken. If you go back through my videos, we were looking for, like, this reached 100 fib, like this A, B, C. So we were looking for this C up here, and this would either just go from here and break the top, or we get this another one down for this, like A, B, C. So there's been these 2 scenarios on here. Now we've got a breakout, so it's definitely more bullish on the lower time frames. But yeah, you can only really look to buy this. We need some sort of a nice correction here before you can buy. We got a nice impulse up from a low. So that's fine. I'd be looking for some sort of an A, B, C here. We did get that, but it never went up and broke the top. So something's happening in here. It's not playing nicely. Like I just showed on the H1, we did get like an A, a B, and a C here I was looking at, but it never went. So this is more bearish. This is more bearish now. And we get some sort of an A, B, C here, and this is some sort of a complex correction. All this is some sort of a complex correction. So very difficult to buy here. It's more bearish, like I'm saying. Yeah. I'd be looking for like an A, B, and a C. If we get the C down and then we get a buy set up, well, then you could look for a buy. But it'd be very, well, there's no buy set up on it. So, yeah, until I get this C down and a buy set up on the lower time frames, I'm pretty much out of it, sitting on the fence. Silver is very similar to, it's very similar to gold, very similar structure. Yeah. So I won't go over it too much, but yeah, this one here, we were looking for more downside on this one because this here was so choppy. Unfortunately, this one didn't even go and break the low either. Excuse me, which is quite surprising, really, because there was nothing impulsive about this. Doesn't look like a leading diagonal either. Looks like a rising wedge, as I was saying. But yeah, it didn't go and break that low. This one's too late to get in. The gold would have been, like, at this stage, I'd be looking to trade gold, not this silver at this stage. Because on silver, we're looking for a wave 4. We need a wave 4 here. We got an A, 1, 2, 3. We need a wave 4, and then we trade a wave 5 up. So we need like an A, a B, and a C in here before we can, jump in and buy. Whereas gold, as I just showed, we've just got that one, an impulse up, and we're getting a correction. So you could trade either one, but again, we need a correction here before we can start to look for buys. We need a wave 4, and then you can trade a wave 5 up. Bitcoin, I've been saying, be very careful buying into this because this looks all corrective to me. It could go on for quite some time and do this for a long time, but eventually I'd be looking for that low to be broken. Very similar to this here was very corrective, and we've got another one down there. This looks very similar. It is, it is creeping up. There was a bull hidden here. We were looking at this in the room there. There is that bull hidden there to buy this, but that's over now. And it doesn't look like we got bearish divergence here, actually. Looks like we may have actually lost, the divergence. Oh no, there is still divergence there. We do have bearish divergence on the H4. I mean, I'd be looking for sells, but there just isn't any sells on it. As you can see on the H1, we have a bull hidden here. So there's a good chance that that does go up and break that top. So yeah, I mean, if we go down to M15 quickly, we have this like A, B, C here, flat. So we got a 1, 2, 3 here. Do we get some sort of A, B, C, A, B, C here, a wave 4, and then a wave 5 down? Well, that's possible. So yeah, I'd be looking for at least 5 down, and then I could start to possibly look for buys, even if it's a larger correction of this. for more downside. But if you got 5 down, then you could at least start to look for buys. But if you got the setup, and it sort of plays out that way. But I'd be very careful. I'd be looking at these higher time frames. This looks very corrective, so be very careful. If you're buying, you're just scalping. You can only buy at this stage, and you're possibly buying into a large correction, so it is risky. There is no self setups on it, so unless you go right down to the lower time frames, M5, M1, you may get a self setup, but I can't go down to those low time frames in these weekly outlooks. S&P 500. Really not going to go over this too much. We've got a high. I mean, we're looking for this wave 5 on the weekly, and it hit that second target, 161.8, and it's even gone higher. We were looking at this flat in here as a possible flat too for a very long time. Well, ever since this was very choppy, breaking the top, we've been looking at a possible flat. This turned out to be an expanding flat. We've got an A, a B, and a C. This does look very motive. More than likely, it's not over here yet, but we need some sort of a correction before you can buy. You don't want to start buying at the top of the market. That's why I'm not really going to go over this much, because we're right at the top of the market. There's really not much you can do with it unless you're already on it. And there was buys on it. We're looking for buys down here and that, but now we're right at the top of the market. We're getting bearish divergence on the H1. I mean, it can still keep on going. If you got a C down in here, some sort of an A, B, C flat, well, you could scalp more upside. But until you get a correction, you just got to leave it alone. And there's only buys. You've got to go with that trend. And the higher it gets and the more bearish divergence you get, the riskier it becomes. Sorry about that. Just had someone here. So, yeah, we need that flat in here before you could even look to buy S&P 500 at this stage. AU 200. I'm looking for this flat here. A, B, C in here, flat to go and break the top. But yeah, it's pretty much very risky now, because it started to go, it gave us a deep correction in here and gave us a three waves up. But again, it starts to get risky like this. Like I was saying, we got a nice impulse up. This was a very deep correction to this wave 1. And then we got a wave 3 up, but we're getting a very deep. Well, this wave 4 here, if we're looking at a wave 4, it's coming to the territory of this wave 2. We do have a bull hidden here, so you can look for a buy. But yeah, it's not the best. I mean, you really got to go down to the lower time frames. We are getting bullish divergence on the M15, so you can look for a buy. You'd be looking right down onto the lower time frames for a buy setup. Yeah, and to possibly go and break that top. So the FTSE, we got that nice A wave. I'm looking at some sort of an A, possibly an A, B, C in here, larger flat before look for more upside for a C up. So there's a couple of scenarios here. This may just go from here, but looking at structures, I'd be looking at some sort of an A, B, C here, and then a larger C down before I'd start to look for a buy, a longer term buy for it, like the A, B, C. And so more than likely it's just scalping. You definitely can look for a buy. We did have that impulse up in here. And there is a bull hidden here too. So if we do, ideally we get another lower low here, and then you could start to look for buys. To buy here is quite, well, this can be a flat here. The problem is, if we go down to the lower time frame, you'll see the dilemma that we're in here. So this is the low here. We got a nice impulse up, but it comes straight back down. It's very deep to this A wave, or a wave 1, or a wave A. So it is very difficult to buy to go and break that top because it's so deep. This is so deep. So there's a couple of scenarios here. This can just be an A, a B, and a C here, and then an A, B, C flat before we get more downside. Or, which I don't really like, but another scenario is, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from here, goes from here. Yeah. I doubt that will happen. If anything, I'd just be looking for an A, B, a C, possibly just breaking these tops, and we get a regular flat before we get more downside rather than an impulsive wave. Yeah, I would be leaving this one alone. I'd be more interested in trading AU 200 than the FTSE at this stage. Then we have, lastly, the DAX. There is a couple of scenarios here too. We were looking at this, A, B, C. We got that C up breaking all the tops, so that was fine. But could this be a larger flat here? And we get an A, a B, and this is a C up. Well, that's definitely possible too. On the lower time frames, I was very cautious buying this because, as you can see, I was just looking for a possible wave 4 here. Like we got 1, 2, 3. I was looking for a possible wave 4, and then we get a wave 5 down, and then we could have looked for a nice buy. But instead, this is it hasn't quite broken this top here yet. So we do have like bear hidden here when we filter this out, but it's very difficult because this was a buy in here to go up and break the top. That was looking very bullish here. But when we were looking at this, I said, you got to be very careful because it may just come up, break this top here, not break this top over here, and then fall over on you. And that looks like what it's pretty much doing, with this sharp move down in here. So, yeah, you have to be very careful buying. You still can buy. I don't like it. The price action doesn't look right to me. But we do have a bull hidden in here. So you could look for technically you could look for a buy. It's not ready yet. Well, when I can't really go into it, but you really got to go down to the lower time frames. And like I said, I can't really go into it too much, but you've already pretty much missed a trade because you would have been either getting in at the break of this top or looking on the even lower time frame to get in down here somewhere. And you got to be very careful because this can just be an A, a B, and a C, and you get more downside. So, it hasn't given us a nice buy setup yet. That's what I'm trying to say. This isn't a high probability trade. What I call a high probability trade. It's just a scalp, a risky trade. So I hope you got something out of this weekly outlook. If you did, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you out there next week.